Hey everybody, today I'm going to be doing a Q&A to celebrate 60,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. I hit that very fast. So I asked you guys to ask me anything and here we go. Window or aisle? Okay, so that's one of those questions where it really depends on the flight, the type of flight. If it's a flight that's maybe like under 4 hours, under 5 hours, I say absolutely do the window seat. I like to have a view, but if it is an international flight that's gonna be like anywhere from like 7 hours and beyond, 7 hours, 10 hours, even more than that, I absolutely need to have an aisle seat because I don't know, I have long legs, I need to stretch, and I hate sitting in one place for a really long time. I gotta move around. It's an absolute nightmare doing international flights for me, so absolutely I depend on aisle. Oliver Stone's The Doors, overhated or underappreciated? I'm going to say it is hated just about the right amount, which is a lot based on my perceptions of it. Obviously, people who have watched me a long time know that I was a huge fan of The Doors when I was younger, especially in college, and I still am for sure. And I actually avoided the movie The Doors just because I had heard it was really bad. And then I did see it finally just because, you know, it felt only natural. And I was like, yeah. It sucks. It sucks. And what's weird about it to me is that it doesn't feel like it was made by a Doors fan. And you'd think, you know, Oliver Stone, obviously from that era, very rock and roll type of attitude, you'd think that he would totally speak the language and get it. And I kind of have a feeling if I were to like have a conversation with him over like a blunt or something, we'd probably get really deep about it, but it did not translate as a film. Do you play any video games? I do. On occasion, I do. I am very nostalgic, so if I'm going to play like over Christmas or something, I'm going to play something old that I grew up on, like a rated E for everyone PlayStation game, like Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, or Jack and Daxter, Shadow of the Colossus. Some of those types of things I really like. And when it comes to more of the current stuff, I mean, I think it's pretty amazing. I think maybe my favorite game of all time, there's a couple of them, but I might say Inside and Limbo. They're short games, but yeah, I just think they're kind of perfect and really, really artistic and interesting and haunting. And so, yeah, I'll say those. Stanley's Parable is one I like. Lately, I've really been interested in like horror games, and I have a specific reason for that. It's because, you know, like as a critic and as somebody who has studied films their whole life, you know, it's very, very hard for me to get excited, or I should say really immersed in a horror film. I mean, I can get interested in it, I can get emotionally invested, but very, very rarely is it ever going to scare me. It just, you know, makes sense why that would be. It's just a medium I'm too familiar with at this point that, yeah, it's very rare. But with video games, I'm way less knowledgeable about it. And obviously, you know, there's a lot more within your control as a player. So it's like the jump scares and everything scare me a lot because I don't know the same beats. I don't understand kind of the way games are done and how you navigate all that. So I squeal like a little girl sometimes watching it. And so it's a way for me to kind of get those thrills in a way that I'm not able to just by watching a movie. How do you feel about this channel's growth through this whole year? It's great. I mean, there's always these periods where you kind of have like a lull or like a slower period, and then randomly it'll just kind of spike up. And I've noticed that over the years, but this one was a huge spike, bigger than I've ever had, I want to say. So yeah, it just felt very gratifying. It was very like, well, great. It paid off, finally. Weird to see so many new people and to have all kinds of new eyes on you, but I welcome it at the same time. It's really cool. And I think a lot of it obviously had to do with the types of movies coming out in July. I mean, it was Oppenheimer and Barbie, and then obviously Indiana Jones was a big one for me. Favorite Disney villain? Oh, that's an excellent question. And a tough one because there are so many good villains. Ooh, I think I'm gonna go, off the top of my head, I'm gonna go Judge Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. That movie is kind of difficult. There's a lot of things I struggle with in it, and then there are other things that I think are some of the best in that period of Disney movie. And I think that Frollo is really great. I know he was meant to be like a priest, but they make him a judge, obviously, for the Disney version. But yeah, you know, the voice acting, everything, just really chilling. He made it feel very, very realistic. I almost felt like you could have taken that character, absolutely translated him to live action, and it could be really, really bone chilling. I love that he is so proper and so hateful, and yet he has all of this, like, you know, these sexual fantasies and these sexual things he's repressing and all that. So I just think that made for a very interesting villain. He has one of the best villain songs ever that encompasses all that sexual repression and all that rage. And so, yeah, I really like that. Yzma Yzma from Emperor's New Groove. I just love her because she is played by Eartha Kitt, who is crazy and just really over the top. She is just having so much fun with that role. She's just scene chewing as any great villain should. She's totally just understanding she has to be herself, and she's just this insane sort of Norma Desmond type character. I love the way she's drawn. They make her really, really skinny. And, you know, Eartha Kitt is also a great performer, a great musical performer. I'm sad they took out her villain song. I know you can see, you know, listen to clips of it on YouTube and all that. But yeah, I think she is honestly really fantastic, the whole package. How do you think AI will affect the industry? I mean, every single industry, not just this one. I mean, I think it's over. And I think it's really strange how in denial people are about it. Like even when it comes to this writer's strike, people, you know, just wanting jobs. And it's like, I understand that. I totally can be on that side, but it just feels like you need to look at the big picture. In a few years, you're going to be struggling to have a job at all because, you know, it's just going to be AI. They can write everything quicker. And people who say things like, oh, they'll never be able to capture the ability of humans. I'm like, oh my God, you sound like the mayor in Jaws. Listen to yourself. Of course it seems like that because this is just the beginning. That's how it works. Common sense. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a dire situation, not just for this industry, but all industries all over the world. And it's really scary. We'll see what happens. Do you have a favorite animated movie? And if so, why is it your favorite? Love your videos. Thank you. I do. It's Akira. And it's a movie that I recognize is an absolute train wreck in some respects. Really, it is a mess. And there's so many times I'm just like, could we have made this into like 2 movies, 3 movies, like a 3-part or something so that it is a lot more cohesive. And yet I really don't give a shit. I think it is one of the most spectacular movies. The aesthetic, the feeling of it, it just connects so deeply with me because it's so just hardcore. I mean, I've never seen anything as ruthless. Or I should say, I felt that way when I was a kid, but I still feel that way. It is like an absolute acid trip. It is just going straight for the jugular, the most primal aspects of oneself, I feel like. And it's very creative, even though it's a futuristic film. It has such a spiritual, earthy, sort of human touch to it that I think is really beautiful. And I don't know, always I've just thought to myself, this is as good as it gets so far as creativity, just the imagination associated with this particular film. And yeah, I mean, it's just really, that's my thing. It's got a lot of body horror elements and trippy elements in it. So at the same time, I always kind of wished that the movie could have been updated or made later on, just because I think it is so ambitious. And, you know, hand-drawn animation, as amazing as it is, I don't think it quite captures everything that I wanted it to in that particular film. But then I look at where we are with like Across the Spider-Verse as an example, which I saw earlier this year, and I was like, oh my God, if they could do Akira with this kind of style or whatever, just this kind of intensity, holy shit, I think it would be amazing. I know you're a fan of figure skating, as am I. So I wanted to know your opinion. What did you think about the I, Tonya biopic? And did you think it hit the mark on Tonya Harding's life and the skating world at that point in time? Well, you know the questions to ask me. I don't like I, Tonya very much. So far as what you're asking, do I think it hit the mark on Tonya's life and the skating world at one point in time? Absolutely not. I think it gets all of that very, very wrong, especially Nancy Kerrigan. It made her seem like she was like this very like dainty little princess who was like, oh no, how dare she? And it wasn't like that. They try to paint Tonya in that movie as this like blue collar working class, and as if, you know, Nancy comes from this very like upper class skating world. And that wasn't the case at all. She was actually quite blue collar herself. Her family did not have a lot of money. And she was kind of very simple. She didn't like to be adorned with a bunch of stuff. I actually really like Nancy Kerrigan kind of as a person. She seems very honest and she doesn't get swept up in all the bullshit of the media. And I think that's why she was able to stay so grounded during that particular Olympics. So yeah, I think it did a lot of kind of victimizing Tonya Harding and kind of making everything else kind of more villainized. That said, that was part of the point of the movie. I mean, part of the point of the movie was that we do not have a reliable narrator. That was part of the fun of it. And yet I still kind of think that was a bit of a cop-out at the same time, just as a narrative device. The whole movie, you know, it's not bad, certainly. And there's some, you know, some good performances, I think. But it does feel very much like a second-rate Goodfellas, a second-rate Scorsese type of movie. The craft is there, but it doesn't really understand the point of the craft, I feel like. When it comes to the performances, the ones that are the most accurate to the real people was Whoever played Tonya Harding's coach, spot on, I have to say. And then whoever played her husband, I also thought those were the two most accurate performances to real life. I thought Margot Robbie was completely miscast. That was a misfire. She didn't understand Tonya Harding at all. To me, it came off as kind of like community theater type of acting. I always saw Tonya as being played by somebody who's a lot more chilling, kind of frosty. Because if you look at Tonya, there's something kind of dark about her eyes, or chilling. She's got very icy blue eyes, and you're kind of afraid of that rage that might be underneath it. But she would always kind of, in the media, talk in this little, quiet little, oh, I'm such a good girl voice. And it was very interesting, mischievous. I think she had a complicated anger in her, and I would like to see her actually performed by somebody like Amy Adams. I know Amy's probably too old, but Amy has those blue kind of chilling eyes as well, or she can bring that out in her acting in a way that just feels closer to who Tonya might be. But yeah, I just thought Margot was wrong. And, you know, she certainly didn't look the part. I mean, you need somebody strong and athletic and muscular. So yeah. Does it ever happen that you record a full review only to scrap it because you didn't like it? No. No. I am the laziest YouTuber you will ever know. Okay? I promise you. There's no one lazier than me. There have been times where I've had to record again because, oh, maybe I forgot to push play on the video, and that's very frustrating. Or maybe, I don't know, on accident, the video cut off. I ran out of space on my camera, and so I have to shoot it again. But that is really the only time. If I shoot something and I don't like what I said, I don't care. I'm just going to go with it and maybe just cut out the parts I don't like. Favorite fast food and why? This is a very important question. And if you're a patron, you know I care about these types of conversations. I have a very, very specific answer to this question. I have two answers, actually. Number one is In-N-Out, but it has to be animal style. People who sit there and go, I don't like In-N-Out. The fries don't have any flavor. It's because you're not doing it animal style, bitch. If there's a beautiful playground right next to you and you're complaining right next door that you're bored when you could just walk over and do it, I don't understand it. So it has to be a double cheeseburger animal style, and I need the fries to be animal style. That's probably my favorite fast food meal in the world, and I might say a very close second would be the Popeyes spicy chicken sandwich with the fries, maybe like a biscuit on the side. Nothing beats that spicy chicken sandwich. And if you disagree with me, I'm telling you, do a blindfold test. I've done it with all the different spicy chicken sandwiches. It's like objectively the flavor profile is just boom through the roof compared to the others. Chris Gore and Gary from Nerdrotic recently mentioned you in a live stream. Would you consider doing a show with them? Yeah, I would. I mean, people have asked me to do shows before, but just not in any sort of serious capacity. But I always feel like I would be a terrible guest for a lot of people, just because I'm not like most people. I'm not like most movie reviewers. I'm very dreamy, head in the clouds. I don't pay attention to the movies coming out. People ask me, what's your most anticipated movie of the year? I have no idea. I usually don't know until weeks before it's coming out, because I get the sense people want to talk about like the latest box office returns and all that. And it's like, I don't know. I think people think all I do is just watch movies all day, but that's really not the case. I'm usually the first person to tell people to turn the TV off and go the fuck outside, get some exercise. So yeah, I'm open to it. I want people to understand I'm a little bit different than a lot of the, I think, typical critics out there. Compared to Roger Ebert, you seem in pretty good shape. How do you manage this despite watching so many movies? So I got a lot of questions about what I do for exercise on this Q&A, and it means I must be doing something right. You're making me feel good, guys. Well, this just feeds into the question before. I don't watch nearly as many movies as people think I do, because I like to have a life. I'm not somebody who just sits inside all day. That would drive me insane. I'm kind of like, I can't sit still. I love to work out. If I'm not working out, I feel like I'll die. If I go on a vacation, let's say, where I'm not going to be moving a lot, I start panicking, going, well, I've got to figure out a way to get it in. But I tend to think there are a lot of people that are really, intelligent, very cerebral, and they maybe work on their brain a lot. They work out their mind, expand their mind a lot, and they think that by doing that, you don't have to do the rest of it. You don't have to work out your body physically. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think actually it's more important to work out your physical. Somehow I think that kind of informs your mental more than the other way around. But yeah, so those are just a few of the questions you guys asked. Thank you guys so much for writing in. And that is the video. Thank you guys so much for watching as well. I'm going to plug my website as always. It is deepfocuslens.com. I'm an artist. I do commission portraits and I sell prints of my work. If that's something that you're into, you can always go to the website below. And if you have a question about a commission or a print, you can email me. My email is in the description box below as well. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons who are fantastic. Guys, thank you so much for your support and welcome to all the new members. If you are interested in supporting, the link for that is below, as well as the rest of my social media information. You can watch more videos here and you can subscribe if you'd like. Catch you next time.